If you have osteopenia or osteoporosis and you want to know how to use weight training for bone strength, then this video is for you. Here's what you can expect to learn. First, we'll talk about the two main reasons why women are often surprised when they're diagnosed with osteoporosis. Then we'll learn about the difference between bone density and bone strength. We often equate the two, but they're not quite the same. Then we'll talk about what really matters when it comes to bone strength. And after that, we'll talk about, does weight training increase bone strength? And if so, by how much? After that, we will discuss, how does strength training strengthen bones? What are the mechanisms behind it? Four important concepts that people often mistake for strength training that may not be strength training. Which exercises to do specifically, but the exercises aren't enough. There's one more element you need, which is what I call the secret sauce, which I'll discuss towards the end of the video. Before we jump in, who am I? My name is Igor. I'm an author of the Amazon best-selling book, Osteoporosis Reversal Secrets. As well, I've been a personal trainer since 2006 with a specialty in osteoporosis. I've also been speaking, training other trainers in my methodology at personal training conferences since 2013. And I've done over 400 wellness presentations to some of Canada's largest corporations, including IBM, American Express, Investors Group, University of Toronto, and others. If you want to learn when I publish more videos about bone strength, osteoporosis reversal, supplements, nutrition, and so on, click like and subscribe to my channel. So let's talk about the two reasons why women are often surprised when they're diagnosed with osteoporosis. They think to themselves, I'm active and I eat healthy. How could this happen to me? Well, here's the thing. Yes, they are active at the wrong activities for their bones. They're doing great things for their heart. They're doing great things for their immune system, but not so much for their bones. They eat healthy, meaning they don't eat too much and they eat a lot of vegetables. All good stuff, but not for the bones. Fairly neutral for the bones, or to some extent harmful for the bones. So that's why they're surprised when they're often diagnosed with osteoporosis. So being active is good, but it's important to be active at the right things. The right thing is weight training or strength training in addition to jump training. The weight training side of things will be discussed in this specific video. If you want me to make another video about jump training safely for osteoporosis prevention and reversal, let me know in the comments. So let's talk about the difference between bone density and bone strength. We often equate the two, but they're not the same thing. Here's the difference. Bone density, the full name of that is bone mineral density. In other words, it measures the amount of minerals in a cubic centimeter of bone. However, bone is not 100% minerals. Bone is only 40% minerals. So it's measuring the full 40% that is minerals. What about the 60% that isn't minerals? Well, that's not measured by a bone density test. So bone density is part of bone strength, but it's not all of bone strength. It's about 40% of bone strength. It's a good indicator, but it's not a perfect indicator. It's a good predictor of fracture risk, but it's not a perfect predictor of fracture risk. But nonetheless, it's not about bone density or bone strength. What really, really matters is actually fracture risk. How likely are you to either have a compression fracture or an impact fracture? That's what's the most important thing in general. And the real question is, does weight training increase bone strength? Here's a study that tries to answer that question. This study is titled, Increased Trabecular Bone Density Due to Bone Loading Exercises in Postmenopausal Osteoporotic Women. Here were the results. Strength training increased bone density by 3.8% in 1 year. Very impressive. But again, bone density is just a proxy marker. What we really want to know is fracture risk. Does strength training reduce fracture risk? And if so, what does a 3.8% improvement in bone density do to fracture risk? Well, here's what it does. Here's another study that actually looked at fracture risk, not just bone density. It's titled, Stronger Back Muscles Reduce the Incidence of Vertebral Fractures. And here's what they found, that strength training reduced the number of fractures by 62.8%. Very, very powerful. Now, how does strength training strengthen bones? We know that it does, but what's the mechanism behind it? And it's really quite simple. The stronger a muscle is, the harder it pulls on a bone. The harder it pulls on a bone, the stronger the stimulus is for that bone to get stronger. Hence, the real issue is strength training, not cardio with weights, but real strength training. The muscles have to pull on the bones hard, not just pull on bones, but pull on bones hard, okay? Which is why, which explains a lot of the rationale behind the exercise prescription you're going to learn in a few minutes. Now, here are a few important concepts. First of all, when I tell people they need to be doing weight training or strength training, they think, oh yes, I do that already. I do body pump classes. Well, body pump classes are not weight training. They're not strength training. They are cardio with weights, which is great. It's good for your heart. Cardio is great for you. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't improve bone strength. It doesn't reduce fracture risk. So body pump classes are not weight training. Don't stop them if you like them, but also don't rely on them for bone strength. Concept number two is that not everything that strengthens muscles also strengthens bones. There are things that strengthen muscles, but don't strengthen bones. For example, doing weight training with repetitions over about 10 or 12 strengthens muscles, but doesn't strengthen bones. Likewise, not everything that strengthens bones also strengthens muscles. Jumping is very good for the bones of people who don't have osteoporosis. If you have osteoporosis, it's also good for you if you do it right. And again, if you want to know what's the right way to jump for osteoporosis that's effective but also safe, comment below and I'll make a video about it in the future. So jumping strengthens bones but not muscles. And lastly, the devil is in the details. Strength training is a real catch-all term, but there are many different kinds of strength training. What do you really want to know for osteoporosis is things like how many days per week? Is it 2, 3, 4, 1, etc.? How many sets per exercise? How many repetitions? What's the tempo? What's the speed? And we're going to talk about all these elements, the exercise prescription for osteoporosis, in a couple of minutes. So you're probably wondering, which exercises should I do? Usually, we match with our clients the exercises to the person's T-scores. Wherever somebody has the worst T-score is where we do the most exercises. So if you want to improve T-scores in the lumbar spine, you want to do things like lateral bends, okay? And deadlifts or one-legged deadlifts. Basically, you lift a weight, a dumbbell, barbell, or any grocery bags, potato sacks, etc., from the floor up to your hips. In addition to that, here are a few others. Reverse hypers. You lie down on your stomach on a bench, on a couch, on a table, etc. Lower your legs down to the floor and then lift them up to straight. Another good exercise is good mornings. Here, this lady is showing it with a barbell, but you can also do it with a resistance band. And don't be afraid of barbells. They come in all different sizes, including light enough that meets your needs. Now, that's the lumbar spine. What about exercises that improve T-scores at the total hip and the femoral neck? Well, deadlifts are good all around. Yes, they're good for the lumbar spine, but they're also good at the total hip and femoral neck. And squats. Squats work the muscles of the quadriceps and the glutes predominantly, and a few minor ones. And that's very good for the total hip and the femoral neck because these muscles have attachments to those bones. Now, what about the wrist? At the wrist, there are also a couple of exercises you can do, like wrist curls, which you can see here, and wrist extensions. The wrist is rarely measured for bone density, sometimes, but rarely. However, it's a very important one to strengthen because if you're going to fall down, you're going to break your fall by putting your hand on the floor. And if you're at risk of osteoporosis, the wrist is going to fracture. So don't neglect the wrist in your strength training program. Now, if you want to learn additional exercises or want to see videos of these exercises, click on the link on your screen right now to watch me demonstrate a bunch of different exercises for different muscles, or click on the link in the description below. Now, the details. Again, the devil is in the details. It's not just about the exercises. Exercises, in fact, are only the fourth most important variable when it comes to effectiveness of an exercise program. The devil is in the details. And again, we want to know the number of days per week, the repetitions, the sets, the tempo. And so with our live in-person or even online clients, what we'll do is we will do their program based on their starting T-score. If their T-score is worse than minus 3.2, the frequency would be 2 to 4 times per week. The number of sets would be 3 to 4 sets, 8 to 12 repetitions per set. And here's the secret sauce, or one of the secret sauces, is you want to lift explosively and lower under control. Lift fast, lower slow. That's if your T-score is worse than minus 3.2. However, if your T-score is better than minus 3.2, there's a slightly different exercise prescription. The frequency stays the same. The sets go up from 3 to 4, up to 4 to 5. The reps, however, go down, okay? From 8 to 12 reps down to 5 to 8 reps because you're going to be lifting a heavier weight. And the tempo stays the same. You're going to try to lift it fast and lower down for a count of 4. If the weight is sufficiently heavy, you won't be able to lift it fast. but it's the intention to make the weight go fast that really matters. And again, these are just the details. What about the secret sauce? The secret sauce is progression in weight. So whichever category you're in, either you're worse than minus 3.2 or you're better than minus 3.2, you should aim for the highest number of reps in the rep range. Again, if you're worse than minus 3.2, you're aiming for 8 to 12 repetitions. You want to go for 12 every single time, okay? That's the example. Now, if you are able to hit the upper limit of the rep range on at least one set, next workout, raise the weight. Don't wait for the weight to become easy. Even if it was difficult, but you did it with good technique, increase the weight. One of the biggest mistakes that people with osteoporosis make is that they are too conservative with their progressions. They progress too slowly. Strength training is very safe for people with osteoporosis, even if they've had compression fractures. So don't be afraid to raise the weight and raise it aggressively, as long as you're maintaining good technique. Okay. Now, if you want us, my team and I, to design an exercise program that's personal to you based on your own T-scores, your own, if you have joint pain anywhere, whether it's your knees or your hips, your equipment availability, if you're training at home, your time availability, whether you have 2 days a week, 1 day a week, or 6 days a week, your exercise history. If you want us to design that kind of program that takes into account every single detail that's personal to you, you can go to our website by either scanning the QR code on your screen right now or visiting the website in the description below, which is www.fitnesssolutionsplus.ca. So far, we've been talking about preventing fractures if you happen to fall, but how do you prevent falls to begin with? To do that, I've recorded a video about the top 3 osteoporosis balanced exercises. Either click the link in the description below or on your screen right now to check out that video.